What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norrin 89 here, and it's finally time to discuss all the Exorcist films and rank them. I did do reviews for all of these films individually, so I'll have a playlist down below in the description right there if you want to click on that, if you want my specific thoughts on any one of the films in particular. Like I said, today it's just going to be a more run-of-the-mill ranking video, and I'm going to tell you why they're at the spot they're at, and this is more going into this ranking video. It's like which one I'm dreading the most on rewatching, and then which ones I'm most excited for at the top. You know what I mean? Because this is a franchise that has some really low lows and some really high highs. So let's discuss. Roll it. So there's 6 Exorcist films to discuss right now, and coming in at the bottom of the barrel, this might be a surprise, but like I said, I'm going off the fact of I just recently watched these films, and I'm saying in terms of which one is at the bottom, this number 6 one is the one that I would dread rewatching the most, that I just don't really want to return to ever again, and that's Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. This film is just flat out boring, and that's one of my biggest probably quirks with when it comes to what I dislike about movies when they are something that really is a negative, is a boring movie. Like when I just am totally checked out because I'm not invested in the characters or the story or anything like that, and come to find out, like I said, they reshot this movie and then re-released it again under a different name, and I thought that version was better. I was happier with that version, and then when this one came out, it just, it didn't leave a mark at all. Coming in at the number 5 spot, we have Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which is probably the most popular answer for worst film in the franchise. The reason this one comes above Dominion is because I could laugh at this one more. I know that sounds kind of messed up, but it's one of those films that is almost hilariously bad at many points, where there's just moments of, why did they decide to do this? Or, the fact that Linda Blair's acting is worse in this film somehow than it was in the first film. The priest character in this movie has some of the most atrocious dialogue I've ever heard in a movie ever, and there's side stories in here and side plots that really just have nothing to do with a lot of the stuff that you want to focus on in this kind of franchise, you know what I mean? So Exorcist 2, The Heretic, like I said, it's hilariously bad, and I would have a little bit more fun watching this one if I had to rewatch it again. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have The Exorcist Beginning, and this is the version that got done by Renny Harlin, where he came in and retooled it, kind of had a different villain in the third act. It's kind of the same skeleton, both these films, Dominion and Exorcist the Beginning, but Exorcist the Beginning is the one I prefer. It has more stuff to deal with Pazuzu in it. It's just more of an Exorcist film, and there's more scares in it, and there's some really, really funny dialogue in this film that, like I said, it's not good dialogue, it's actually pretty funny, and there's better, like I said, scares, and I like the darker tone of this film better. But there's still moments in this movie too, in Exorcist the Beginning, where you're watching it and it feels like a Frankenstein type film, in terms of that it's stitched together and you can see puzzle pieces from the other movie and stuff, and it just kind of goes where it goes. You just know for a fact that there's stuff pulled out of it from the other film, and then they chopped it together. You can just tell by the editing. Now we're here at the top 3, and coming in at the number 3 spot is going to be The Exorcist Believer, and this is the one for real that gets probably the most hate, or some of the most hate, because it's a recent film. It's a recent film in this franchise, and it is a direct legacy sequel to that first Exorcist film, and they did some very kind of messed up things when it comes to fans of this franchise. I'm not a big fan of this franchise, but people who love The Exorcist, that first film, just specifically just that first film, you're not really going to like The Exorcist Believer because of stuff that they choose to do and everything. But there is a good movie within this film. So when I'm watching The Exorcist Believer, I've only seen it twice, but watching it, you can see a good film inside that movie. I just feel like they were almost pigeonholed a little bit because they had to throw certain things in, and there's certain moments in the film, especially when you get to the third act, where it's telegraphed. It's very predictable at points, but I still think The Exorcist Believer is worth the watch. Like I said, it's nowhere near, like I said, The Exorcist Beginning and Dominion and Heretic. Like the gap between 4 and 3 is pretty significant. Now, coming in at the number 2 spot, this is where some people are probably maybe going to click off, maybe not, but a lot of you who are fans of the channel or subscribe to the channel, you already know The Exorcist, the original one, is going to be coming in at this number 2 spot. This film is one of those movies that I've always in the history of me being a horror fan, and I'm 37 years old or going on 37 years old, this has always been a film that I've highly respected more than I enjoyed. On this rewatch, though, for the channel and going through the franchise again, I did have a lot more fun with this film, and I appreciated a lot of stuff that I just didn't really as other rewatches when I was in the past, you know what I mean? Like the score, the performances and stuff, and especially that third act. When we get into the exorcism scene, your eyes are just glued to the screen. Like, for real, the last 20 minutes of this film is just totally gripping. But there are still moments of this movie where I'm bored, and there's moments that I would clip out, and like I said, it's one of those films that I feel like there's other films, there's another film in this franchise, and there's other films in this subgenre that do this better. That's how I feel. That's just my honest opinion as a horror fan. Being the religious horror that there is out there, I've seen films do what The Exorcist does, but better. But that, like I said, is not to knock or say that this film isn't monumental and huge. If we're talking about the franchise as a whole, which film is the most important, most monumental, it's definitely this first film. But there is a film in this franchise that I clear-cut think is better in just about every other way. And now we're here at the top dog, the number 1 spot. Before we get down to that, please like the video. That definitely helps out the channel. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. And coming in at the number 1 spot is going to be Exorcist 3. This is no secret. This is the only one I own, so it's obvious that this is my favorite. Like I said, this is the only film in this entire franchise that I own and stuff. And Exorcist 3 for me, like I've said it many times, I don't want to drove on too long. I just think this film is better than The Exorcist in just about every way, in terms of the scares, the story, the performances by our lead actors, George C. Scott and Brad Dourif. I think their performances in this film are some of the best in this entire franchise. Like, you're not going to get performances better than these two gentlemen in this movie. The dialogue sequences and, like I said, the score, everything about this film. This is a heavy rewatchable film for me. Like, I think I watched this film like 3 times in 1 year. The first time I ever saw Exorcist 3, I think I watched this film like 3 times in 1 year. Like, it's just one of those movies that has so many good lines, so many good scares. It's creepy. Like, if I was to say out of all the films in this franchise, which one scares me the most, it's this film. Like, I think this film has the best scares. I don't get scared of this movie, but if I was to say on a scare level, I would vote this one the best. So that's why Exorcist 3 for me is just clear cut, always been the one, because I've never been big on this franchise. And it's one of those franchises that as the sequels came out, you would watch them and you're like, they don't hold a candle to it. And I was kind of growing up in that era where you were getting, The Beginning, Dominion, and all that stuff. And then just going back and watching this one, it's just very obvious that this is a fantastic film. Like, for real, this is one of the greatest horror sequels on this planet, and a perfect example and reason why I'm a sequel whore, and I always champion sequels no matter what. As bad as they can get and as horrible as we will get some sequels, I'm always going to champion them, because there's always that off-guard chance that you might get a film like this. Thanks for sticking around with me all as we discuss the Exorcist franchise. This is just my ranking and my thoughts and my opinions. Please share your ranking down below in the comment section so we can discuss our list, debate, and like all that kind of stuff, and keep it healthy. We don't want to talk mean or any rude stuff. It's all good vibes here. Like I said, everybody has their own opinion. That's okay. Like I said, this is just mine and my feelings on the franchise. So thank you for sticking around with me all. This was a lot of fun going through this franchise. I know there's some really, really low films in this franchise that I'm probably never going to watch again, but there is some really cool ones, upper echelon ones. There's 2 at the very top of the list. So this, like I said, was a lot of fun, and I'm very happy that my Twitter followers and YouTube followers all voted for this franchise to be the one that I covered. But please stick to the channel, have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video, because I got Courage the Cowardly Dog videos coming. I got some more Forgotten Final Girls stuff coming, and I got some other ideas kind of turning in the head as well. Most importantly, you all know what's up. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.